now, and I want to make sure we're up on the Keynote page. Says this is redirecting, and yeah, it says we are live here. Yeah, all right, so we're live. Hello everybody. I hope y'all are having a great time. I'm waiting for Jay Kyle to jump up in here and some more folks. This is going to be one of 3 group discussions that we have today. Man, I hope y'all are getting a lot out of today. It has been exciting. I've been running around doing tech support, teaching, and watching. So, and feeding my daughter and entertaining her. Don't want to ignore her. But man, I'm really excited. Because we got Jamie on here, we got Dominic on here, Monty is coming in right now, and man, I'll tell y'all in all honesty and all transparency, I had no idea how this was going to come off. I had faith that it was going to work, but I really didn't know. But I'm excited about seeing all of these teachers help and bless so many people. I mean, that's what's exciting. So we got, like I said, we got Monty, Dominic, Jamie. I'm gonna give a little bit more. We are in the chat, so if y'all want to jump on to the anybody else, we're there. Anybody here in the session, I'm looking at the chat, but y'all can obviously get in the chat there too. The main topic of this group discussion is going to be developing a team. Let me make sure we got everybody over here. Dominic, Jamie, Monty, I seen y'all in a couple of classes. What are y'all's thoughts so far?
Everything has been good, man. I watched, I believe 2 of your classes. I watched Chuck's, Otis. Everything just been very good, very informational, and I mean, it's really good for it to be, the way it is. It's really been good. Like God has definitely been blessing you guys today with the information you've been giving out.
Like I told everybody, I was excited about bragging on all these folks that I've met from YouTube and everything like that. Because I mean, I'm proud of all y'all. I'm excited about what y'all know. Because again, I don't know everything, but I am so excited about being able to have a platform to share. We got a couple of technical issues, but we're gonna get them straight. I know, Mike, I was watching that, man. Everybody was into it, man. So we're gonna make sure we get your stuff straight because everybody needs to hear the stuff that you were doing, which I'm excited about what you got on there. So we're gonna make sure we get that and get, because everybody needs to hear what you were talking about. We got a bunch of other folks in here. Monty is actually going to be dropping some knowledge in our next session on the 31st. So y'all definitely don't want to miss that. Dominic is also going to be teaching next session as well on the 31st. So the best part about this is you don't miss out. We're still rocking, folks. So you got a comment here. We got some folks that are in listen mode. Monty was saying, and everything has been really good. Thank you so much. So I'm gonna open it up, and I don't see anybody in the chat right now. We got 4 people watching, but no comments are right there. But like I said, this group discussion is just for me to facilitate. And I want to ask y'all, with all the stuff that we're doing in media ministry, what are your thoughts or plans or direction in developing a team? And anybody can fire away.
I think it comes down to finding like-minded people that really can fit the idea of community. I mean, when it comes down to developing a team, every person has their lane, and you have to know your lane in developing a team. The problem is identifying and being able to foster all that together. And I think especially in media ministry, because you got people that can run cameras, people that know how to take tight shots, wide shots, close-up shots, know how to use rule of thirds, know how to create essential graphics for the lower thirds or the ways to give or all those types of things. I think it's the difficult part is trying to find that balance in knowing who is the right fit for what job and developing their personality and skill set, because that's the hard part.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think, we're behind a somewhat of a pay gate. So, I mean, we can be a little bit more candid. So that's at least how I'm going to be. I think one of the main issues that I have is, and I'm gonna throw this out because Jay Kyle just came in because he was literally just talking about this in his session. So I'm not gonna throw him under the bus, but I'm gonna put him there to address this kind of comment. We're talking about developing a team, and Jamie was just talking about the difficulty of finding the right person to match that you can work in harmony with. Now, the other side of that is a lot of ministries are so desperate to try and get somebody involved, they will find anybody and throw them in a position, and they are not the right person. You're not even trying to put a round peg in a square hole. You're trying to put the Titanic into a small hole. Like, it is nowhere close to the right decision. But unfortunately, it's like people are desperate. They're like, we don't know this thing. We need media. And instead of doing the research and being patient and praying for the right person and letting somebody select themselves, and we can use this term, instead of finding volunteers, you're getting people who are voluntold, and they might not be the right person. So anybody else, what are your thoughts on all of that? And we got a couple of comments as well, too.
That's pretty much it. Go ahead. Sorry.
Sandra, go ahead. All right, we'll circle back. Go ahead, Mike.
I was thinking that also you need committed people as well, because if people are like, I might try it, but then they flake out on you, and it's like, well, that's not going to really help you build your team properly. So you need committed people.
Now I'm gonna jump in. We got another celebrity in the room, Francisco. He was talking about the media ministry mindset. How does, based off of, let's get a recap of what you were talking about and how that correlates to developing a team. Now, again, we're not talking about getting a bunch of bodies. We're looking for it to develop a team.
Well, one thing that can you guys hear me?
Yes.
One thing that I like to stress and look on is character. I like to see if they're already being faithful. And let's say, for example, in a local ministry, are they being faithful there? And because I like to watch all those things, because as those of us that are on here, we know that we're there when the doors open, before the doors open, because we're there preparing, getting things set, and then afterwards, when things are done. I always like to watch people, and I think someone mentioned, just because someone is technical, and I've seen this happen, just because someone knows how to operate a computer, they may not be the right person for media ministry, because they may not be dependable. They may, like I said, they may have will. I mean, they may have skill, but they don't have the servant's will. They may have they may have certain abilities, but are they dependable? Would they show up on time? It's one thing to have, and I think, AJ, you talked about it a while back, and is that the service is supposed to start at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, and this person is just showing up at 10:45. And you can't have people like that. You got to have people that are committed. And I always like to go back to the heart. Do you have a heart that's willing to serve? Because with me, I find it's easier if someone who's teachable, who's consistent and committed. I can always teach you the technical aspect, but if you have those three things, I can work with you and develop those other things.
Hey, I completely agree. Now, Mr. J. Kyle, you were just talking about intergenerational synergy. Now, again, let's address the elephant in the room. A lot of ministries are just rushing to try and get this. And based off of what you're talking about, they know that the younger generation is more tech savvy. So they just throw somebody young in there, but like somebody said in the comment, well, two people said in the comment, this message is brought to you by the word dependable by Team RHO. And then Sean follows it up, try the spirit by the spirit. Just because you're young and you know tech doesn't mean that you are a good fit, but it is a good opportunity for them. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Your own twist on that in talking about intergenerational synergy as well in developing your team.
You are absolutely correct. First of all, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, you're absolutely correct in that your heart has to be right for ministry. I think one of the most dangerous things you can do is throw a young person behind a computer because they're good at it, but they don't have the heart. In another, I guess, inception of our ministry, we had some young people behind computers because they were good at computers, and we needed to get them going. We had to get them to do something, and we wanted to give them something so they could call it their own. And that was a disaster. And it was a disaster because, without getting too technical, without getting too specific, they did not have the heart of the ministry. Not to go back into my little presentation, but when you deal with Moses and Joshua and Aaron and Hur, everyone has the same idea. We must defeat the Amalekites. So what does my skill set have to do with defeating the Amalekites? Moses' skill set, hey, I'm the leader and I have to lift the rod, because when you see the rod, that means that we're appealing to God. Okay. Joshua's skill set, I'm on this sword, but I'm still about to get these Amalekites together. Aaron and Hur, well, I'm probably not good for the sword either, but I can make sure Moses' arm is lifted. So the heart, their heart to be together, their heart to be unified, their heart to have the same vision is what enables them to now bring their skills together. Your skills mean nothing without the heart. I told someone all the time, I tell people all the time, I can get stuff from my leader's hand because I already have my leader's heart. So if I go in his office tomorrow morning and say, you know, Pastor, we need to consider doing something different with this tech situation. He knows, because I've served with him for so long, if he's coming in here with a suggestion, I can trust his questions and I can trust his call. I can trust what he's saying is necessary because he knows my heart and I know his heart. We got the same heart about this thing. So I can skip that whole phase of, ooh, can I trust him? Ooh, can I this? Oh, is he for the ministry? Oh, is he for the vision? Because I've already proven that. And the way I proved that, and I'll relinquish. The way I proved that was that I've been in this church for years, and I put my hands to work on some stuff, on a lot of stuff, on more things than I care to mention that were not my idea. I didn't come in and say, hey, yeah, I got some ideas and y'all move out the way so we can implement my ideas. I tried that, it didn't work. And so what I had to do was realize that they had some stuff on the table first. So I had to put my stuff to the side and get my hands ready to help.
Mm-hmm.
I had to get my hands ready to help them do what they were doing and become one with the mission, become one with the vision, experience some of the highs, experience some of the lows, experience some of the victories. And they were not my ideas. So that became a situation where I can get into the groove, the flow, the culture, the understanding, the push of the ministry. So now when I bring an idea, they already know my heart because they see me in the trenches with them.
So pretty much what you're saying is like the sign that you are not a good team player is if you come in and you're trying to rally the troops behind your vision, but then when now you're the troop, you're the one that's sabotaging it.
Yeah, because you don't want to work until it's your turn to do your thing. So how many things did you do that weren't your idea? And maybe you didn't even agree with it. There's a lot of things I saw on the inception that's not going to work. and they said, we need you to do this part. And I'm like, okay. And I gave it the old college try. I didn't like you said, I didn't sabotage it. I did what I had to do based on what they asked me to do. And sometimes we won, sometimes we lost. But when I got an understanding of what God was showing me to do in the ministry, they had my trust because they knew that I had been in. I wouldn't sabotage it now. How many times have I been here with the victories and with the defeats? You know, so that was the big thing for us. Just work on what's on the table first.
Completely agree.
Stuff first.
Anybody else got any thoughts on like what do y'all look for when you're developing a team? Especially, and I want to call this out, especially because that's the heartbeat. I hear a lot of people saying, like, we know this is important, but we ain't got nobody. Like, what are y'all's thoughts on that? How have you or how are you handling that type of situation now if you're going through something like that?
Sometimes in this particular ministry, many times people are, I know you say people get voluntold to go and get into media ministry, but sometimes the situation presents itself where you get pulled into it because you might have that skill or somebody may think you may have that skill. But sometimes it's just you just get drawn to it because if you have a heart for ministry and trying to do something that you can serve, you just see a problem. And rather than complain about it, you just want to jump in there and see if you can help fix it. And so whereas that may not be your ministry, that may not be your calling, it may not be even what you thought you came to that particular church or that particular ministry to do, it may just be that because you have the ability to do so and you see something that needs to be done rather than complain about it, you just say, you know what, I'm going to step up and see what I can do to help out because they need some help and I can help them out in this thing. That has happened in my case in several different times in the past. And long before I came to the church I've been at now, and I've been there for some 17, 18 years now. Before, when I would visit as a musician, I would go to different churches and work with different ministries as a musician. You know, sometimes we musicians get to travel from church to church because I don't want to say we're chasing that check, but sometimes we go where we're called. And it may be because of our skill, we get called to come play in different places. Well, sometimes the sound wouldn't be right. They say, well, can somebody adjust the sound? And the pastor may come and say, can you do something to help our ministry out? And I would go and do that. Well, later on, I came to my church, which I've been at now, and I help out with the media ministry because it needed some assistance and I had the skill. And, you know, when I saw something needed to be done, I just kind of stepped up and volunteered to get into it. So the first thing that needs to be done is you need somebody with a heart for ministry. They got to have a heart for serving. They got to be willing to serve. Now, it's great when you can sit there and teach a person that's just a volunteer and they're there and they say, you know, like I said, the Lord says, you know, they come here, I am, use me. That's one thing. But sometimes you get lucky and you'll find someone who just truly just has a passion for something. They just show up and you can't stop them from wanting to come tweak and want to come back here and hang out with the ministry. But this is, and I'm waiting for the session in the conference where we talk about it sometimes in dealing with this, where to do this effectively and to be in it for long term, you have to be a certain caliber individual because you got to be able to deal with people. Because first of all, you ever want to see anything change, the situation change where they see how much you love Jesus is when you're standing there when the sound goes bad and something goes wrong and an entire church turns around and looks at you and they're looking to see what you're going to do to fix it. And you got to deal with all them people and you got to deal with all of a sudden that will run a lot of people off real quick because everybody ain't built for that. And you got to be able to deal with them people that's going to come and they don't have no problem saying something to you about what's wrong with the sound. Why can't you fix it? What's going on with this? Do you know how to work that board? And you got to deal with folks. So you got to have, have a thick skin, but you got to have some Jesus in you in order to deal with that. Because, well, I mean, I'm a unique minister. I'm on staff now, Bethel, but I'm also a media guy. But I'm that one when people turned around and look in there, I was like, I'm so sorry. All of you who know how to fix it, get up and come back here, or otherwise, please turn back around and let me do my job.
Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord.
That was me. And so a bunch of them learned real quick that when Brother Watkins is back there, he got it. Okay, so that's one thing. But so you could be there and serve for the Lord, but you ain't got to be no punk. So the whole point is, and again, I mean, Lord calls different of us to all kinds of ministries. And when he called me to preach, he knew who he was getting. So the point is, again, some of us are built differently. So yeah, I will do whatever it needs to be to serve all the time. I always will, and for the longest time, I mean, pastor said, I wish I could duplicate you. And I was like, that's not going to happen. Now, what I can do is I can teach somebody the technical aspects. I can teach somebody to get through the service. I can teach somebody the technical stuff and how to, I can't really teach people to have a good ear. I can kind of show them kind of how to hold a camera, how to operate a camera, something like that. But they just got to have a love for what they're doing. And first of all, because when it's going wrong is when your character is really going to show, because you got to be able to get through that when things are not going right and be cool-headed enough to get through the service so that you continue to serve even in the midst of chaos. And so it definitely takes, so finding people like that, because I've seen media ministry scare off a whole lot of folks, because again, everybody can't deal with that. Back when we were doing CDs and tapes, I didn't get my tape yet. When am I going to get my tape? When am I going to can I get my CD, please? I paid my money. Where's my CD at? And I'm sitting there hours and hours and hours on Sunday, staying late, making copies for folks. And I can't get the other members of the team to even sometimes stay back to make copies. And so you got to have a love for what you're doing to serve. And so that's the thing. So finding people like that is unique. And then once you get some people, you got to love on them to keep them around, because once you find some people that you can depend on who will do it, you need to make sure you show them some love and give them some support. And I mean, keep praying and pray for God to not just send you somebody, but to send you somebody who's going to stay and who's going to be willing to serve. That's the hard part for me. That's what I got to say on it. But I'm still waiting for that session. So I didn't see it on the list.
Can y'all
There you go,
read
Mike.
this?
There you go, Mike. That was one of our themes for a while.
Yeah. Is it still available? We all need to go buy these and run them every Sunday. Right?
Yeah. And I think it's another one I saw that where the idea came from. It's like, before you complain, have you volunteered yet? Hey, and let me jump over here to somebody said a comment in here, and we'll throw that out. And again, sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. Jaquil was saying that's rare. I don't know if you're having the same problems or not, but our youth and young adults haven't came back to church yet. Our older generation doesn't want to fool with the tech at all, and all the work is put on one young adult. I mean, I can't speak for everybody else, but I know sooner or later, but the majority of the people that I know in this conference or who are on this Zoom, somebody has been in that position at least once or twice. So you're in good company. And yeah, it stinks. But just like you were saying, Leroy, it's like we can teach tech all day long. You can't teach ambition. You can't teach the desire to perfect your craft. That is the rare person. Like, again, I'm this ain't a bragging thing. This is just me. I sit and try and figure out what type of new programs that are out there. I would go to church and let me try and do a test live stream. Let me go stream it and pull it up on my phone and my tablet just so I can see what the experience is. So when somebody on the stream is saying something, I can address it because I've been on that direction. Now, not everybody does that. I think a good portion of people who are on here right now have done that, but you can't teach that to people. And my issue, I said this a long time ago, way before e-missionary and anything. When I was talking, I think I shared this with Jay Kyle, that a lot of people have selective salvation. And I want to take the same thing and use that with media ministry. Just because you come up and turn the system on, put scripture up, turn the live stream off, move the camera, that is the act of media ministry. Like I used to tell everybody, I never got the minister of music title. I never got that title. I am a minister of music because it's in me. I don't need anybody to give me a title. And I say the same way. Are you a media minister? Are you an e-missionary? Or are you a volunteer in the media ministry? It's something completely different.
Amen, that AJ. One of my former pastors said that years ago that, some people you can give them a title and go to their head, but are you putting the work in that's going to go with that title? It's oftentimes people are actually serving in ministry without the title. And so, and the people who have the title, they just want to point and tell someone else what to do.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know who it was, but you hear anybody yelling from the rooftops, "I'm the leader, I'm the leader, I'm the leader." They're not. The person who is the leader is the one that's on the ground with you moving forward, not behind you with a whip smacking you in the back to tell you to move, but in the lead in front of y'all, leading you in the direction they're asking to go. That's what I used to get in trouble for a lot when I was in the Marines. When I was the section leader, my job was to tell people what to do. And I used to tell my staff sergeant, he was like, "Holmes, you need to tell people to do this." I said, "I understand that, sir, but I think a good leader is anything that I tell anybody to do, I show them I'm willing to do it myself. I'm not telling people, hey man, go ahead and clean out that latrine, clean out that toilet because I don't want to do it. No, clean it out because I'll do it as well. And you've seen me do it. And it's another thing for us from a media ministry when we're trying to get a team to say like, hey, you need to sit down and download Worship Extreme, sign up for the demo of ProPresenter and run it on your home computer. It's one thing to say that. And it's another thing to be like, wait a minute, you're telling me to do that. Have you done it? Yes. Yes, I have. That's the only reason why I'm telling you to do it. And well, not even telling you, suggesting, because you don't tell anybody anything. You suggest. And Darius has a comment in here saying, I don't know how many times I've told people to listen to their stream, but will not. I heard this point multiple times in training today. Yeah, I mean, it's like look, I'm not an athlete. I didn't do sports. I mean, I did martial arts. I did karate and all this other stuff like that. But in every other sport, from football to basketball to soccer or football, if you're not in the United States, in training, I always remember they watched the tapes of what their performance was so they can get better. Why? You need somebody who's willing to do that when it's being directed, or more importantly, they will do it themselves because they want to perfect their craft. And I'm talking too much. What are some of y'all other ones? And we got Elliot joined, and we got some other folks in the chat. Yeah, just people were commenting, saying, any other suggestions of what y'all think about what it takes to develop a team?
So I think one of the most important things about developing a team will always have to be develop the training with a purpose. So it be intentional when you train people. It's good to cross train people, but I want people that are masters of the individual things before they are masters of none. So saying that is, I want you to be good at this one task before I train you to do another task. Because you have everybody try to make things extra simplified and train everybody to do everything very quickly, very inefficiently, and very, it's just not to a standard that is not in a spirit of excellence at that point. It gets done, but it doesn't get done in an excellent way. So it looks sloppy. It makes you as a leader look sloppy. It makes them look sloppy. And honestly, at the end of the day, when I train people, I'm training them to take over the leadership position. Every single one. Whoever rises to that challenge, so I could at one point step back and say, okay, you guys take over. I'm going on vacation.
Mm-hmm. And that's such a great point, Elliot, because I think Rachel is actually going to talk about this, and I don't want to steal her thunder, but this is her session. I mean, I'm not knocking everybody else. All of y'all's classes are important, but one class I think is one of the higher echelon classes that I think that might be essential is succession planning. All of us, yeah, we might love what we do, but we ain't going to be here forever. Just like you said, Elliot, we need to identify, and actually, let me take this back. Let me put it this way. You don't need to identify anybody. I remember somebody taught me a long time ago, you don't pick a leader picks themselves. They rise to the occasion. Because you don't give somebody the title of a leader because they might not be ready. People show themselves when they are ready. And it's obvious when that happens, you know? And I think that, you know, a lot of times in ministries, you got people, like we talked about it before, people get assigned a position and they don't need that position. That's like you were saying, J. Kyle, it's like, oh, this is the most tech savvy person in here, but they are the worst person with people skills in the entire building. And the good thing, I don't have any proof to this, but we got a lot of people in media ministry who are musicians. And outside of being a pastor, the hardest job in the church is being in music ministry because you have to organize a volunteer army that you can't fire if they don't do what you asked to do. Any thoughts on anything else on that? I mean, so I guess let me throw it this way, because we got the man, the myth, the legend that just joined us, Josh, the youngest one in the room. So I want to throw this out here because he made me think about this. And J. Kyle, I'll throw this in your direction as well too. How important is it? I mean, this is an easy softball pitch here. How easy and how important is it for you to have a diverse age range in your media ministry? Or should it just be, no, you have to be 65 and up and that's it? You can't be a part of the media ministry unless you got like 15 bills and you got a car and you got a power bill and something like that. I mean, is there any requirement? Hey, because you'll be surprised. There's some people that think that, like, you can't join the media ministry unless you drive a car. I think that's the stupidest thing I think I've ever heard. But I mean, that's just me. Any thoughts?
No, not at all. Actually, what I will be presenting tonight is that you shouldn't require people to join. You shouldn't hire people, or at least let them be in your ministry if they'll make history of some sort, or if there's some family legacy, if they're the most trusted, if they're the oldest, if there's the middle age, if they're the most experienced.
J. Cal, how does that correlate to intergenerational synergy?
Well, I think that the beautiful thing is that if you consider from your media ministry, and of course, you know, with your e-missionary, it's always what happens with the service after the service, in addition to what happens during the service. Now you got to think in terms of social media platforms. If you're thinking in terms of social media platforms, you're going to need someone who understands each one of them.
So you mean we shouldn't be concentrating on live streaming to MySpace or Foursquare or nothing like that?
I'm gonna check MySpace now and see if your stuff is still out there.
Log in.
If I can find it, I just want to see what it looks like.
Periscope.
You're gonna need to know. Like, look, what happened to Periscope? I don't know, but you're gonna need to know. I had a conversation with one of my youth who gave me the ins and outs of each social media platform, purpose-driven wise. They said you go to Facebook if you have something to say that's more than however many characters is on Twitter. Twitter is for like your short hits. You want to say something real cool, or you want to do a link to something else. Facebook, you can kind of get it all, but they said that the old people took Facebook over. Well, they didn't take it over. We had it when it first got here, and now we've grown with it. But you know, she told me that Instagram had everything to do with showing people as opposed to telling people. So not just text, but picture and video. And then she talked, what's the other one she said? YouTube, of course, you know, YouTube is kind of the longer version of what you need to do in IG. And she talked about all the different ones. And it made me understand yeah, you better get someone here who understands how to effectively use all of these, because anytime you can connect your ministry at a point of relevance to another generation, you are winning. You are winning. I said, now she said, yeah, and you need to get a TikTok. I said, what am I going to do with a TikTok? All those silly videos. She's like, yeah, but what if you just say something real deep for a moment and make people think? Doesn't that work too in terms of TikTok? Yeah, that okay. So you don't get any of that if you don't hear from those generations. And she's not actually in the media ministry, but she can see how we could leverage the media ministry to just do amazing things. So please, if you've got someone, like, I'm so impressed with just to have Josh on. If you've got someone who's connected and still, here's the key, understands the culture of today. You got to understand culture. You got to understand what's going on, so that you won't say things or do things that put you outside of the culture in a negative way. Not in a oh, it doesn't agree, but in a negative way. Those are two different things. So can you operate within the culture? Your relevance gets boosted when you have folks in your media ministry who understand the culture, have their ear to the ground, and that's going to be generational.
See, that made me think. I didn't know how this was going to get tied in, but thank you, Lord, for bringing this in. That's like, see, this is why you need different generations, so that you don't have, and I just thought this off the top of my head, Josh, so please write this down as a meme that you can use. That's like you have somebody that's like, man, we got to reach you got some older folks that don't want to include the other generations. And they're like, you know what, we need to make a flyer to compel some more people to come in. You know what, we should use the acronym. And the acronym is going to stand for Saved, Transformative, Faith, and Unity. We should do that. Wrong words.
Yes.
Wrong words. And if y'all don't get that, write out the first letter of every word I just said.
I don't know what you're talking about. I love it.
We used that one last week.
Yeah, it's like, what do you mean? It's the acronym of STFU. Oh.
It's from Facebook. I got you.
Oh.
It's just a wrestling move. It's cool.
Let's put it on shirts.
It's like, yeah, man, that was like the one. It was like, it's probably been on Facebook. I don't know if y'all seen it. That they had a sign that said, you know, God is now here, but there was no spaces, and the sign shows reads as God is nowhere.
It's got a post talking about it. Immediately click on it.
Yeah, spaces mean a lot. Or somebody else says
supposed
on
to be on
sale
the Q&A Friday, but
hey, yeah, we ended up making it short. But I mean, here's another one that Team RHO is saying here in the chat. And I have two thoughts about this as well, too. He says that I find that young people are very interested in helping, but many have fear because they don't want to mess up anything or the lack of knowledge. Let me stop right there and just tell y'all, this conference has had a whole bunch of technical issues. And this is the saving grace. Your media ministry will always have technical issues. Anybody who's telling you or putting the fear of God in you of making a mistake, they ain't been in media ministry long. There is always something. There's a mic going off. There's somebody that kicked the cable loose. The internet went out. Oh, this computer just died. Windows decided to do a 2-hour update in the middle of service. It's always something. Again, what we teach in media ministry is not necessarily about being the first phase of media ministry and developing your team is to be proficient in the skills and the devices that you got. That's kindergarten. Now, when you go to grade school, it's how that I can use this stuff. And David had a class talking about it. How can I use all these devices and services to help produce the Great Commission and how to present it? Because, hey, are you able to be, oh my gosh, the internet went out. Let me hook my phone up to be a hotspot so we can still get the message out there, because the message is more important. Even if you have a horrible video quality, I still believe media ministry is so important that one person can hear one word that takes 3 seconds and that gets their life saved. That's what the importance of what we do. That's why, at least for me, I am dogmatic about if I get somebody and again, I'm working to correct myself on this because I know I don't want to come off too strong. But I'm the one when if I'm in a media booth with you and the internet's down and your response is like, oh, it's not a big deal, it's not working, we'll get back to it next week. No, that's the wrong answer. That is the wrong answer. Because that's like saying, hey, Jesus, do you want to go to do you want to go to the mountain of transfiguration, or do you want to go here? You want to go over there and talk to Lazarus? No, I hollered at that dude last week. I'll see him next month. Jesus didn't do that. So why do we think that we gonna be so comfortable into the fact that this opportunity was given to us? This is the stewardship that we're doing. If the gifts and abilities were given to us to live stream, to know what to do with it, us just letting it fall by the wayside is just like the wicked servant that took our talents and buried it in the ground.
Wow. Okay. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Hey, Jinx. Go ahead, Otis. I'm sorry.
Oh, I know that happened to us one Sunday, and but we all looked at each other. It was like we went into action, but basically what we did, we took a phone, ran downstairs, got it closer to the pulpit area, took a stand with the iPad and turned on one of our phones and started tethering to it, because we lost the stream. And so we had to think of something else creative to be able to keep to get the message out.
Yeah. I mean, that's the next level. And that's the stuff you can't teach people. You can't teach like, hey, Josh, look, I want you to be able to think on your feet, no matter what. I want you to prepare for any infinite situation to happen, but I want this to work out. You don't find that. You can't teach that. That's something that's built into the person. And again, I'm not saying that that's rare, but that is something that ideally you would want to aim for. Because even if you only had 2 people in your media ministry that was like that, hey, you can change a whole lot of stuff with 2 dedicated people. And I'm gonna call them out. The West family, Francisco and his wife, they doing some stuff because they in one accord. Yeah, I'm sure they could do way more if they had 10 people, but they are like this in their focus in just a little amount of time that I know. And I'm just like, no wonder God is blessing them in what they're doing. And that's the thing that you're looking for. You're not looking for masses. You're looking for the committed.
AJ, can I say something? Excuse me. As I was sharing in my class today about the artisans, and that's in Exodus chapter 31, when God called Moses to build a tabernacle, he says specifically about these artisans that he anointed them in all skill and all these different artistic, all the stuff. And he says here in verse 6, he says, I've put wisdom in their hearts and gifted the artisans that they will make all that I've commanded you to do. And like I was sharing with the pastors, you may have the vision, but God has people out there that would help you take that message. He's anointed them. They may not be anointed to preach. They may not be anointed, but they're anointed and skillful in, let's say, technology to get your message out to the masses. And, you were talking about my wife, and it's so interesting. She's not that technically inclined, but you remember when we were I forgot we were dinner or something like that. We was having dinner. She was the one that came up, said, she asked you, do you have a prayer team? And you and I wasn't even thinking about that. You have someone praying for you, because she said he's gonna need someone to be praying and covering him. And so from that day forward, we just started. And she asked me, do you think? I said, go for it. I think it'll be a great thing. So again, the whole body doing its part. And excuse me. And even the few times I wasn't able to get on there because I had another meeting that I was going on, her and Mike would be on the prayer line. And then when I was able to get off my meetings and then come in and join in, I'm sitting there thinking like, wow, man, I didn't know the Media Ministry Saints was praying like this. And so, I mean, it was like one old fashioned, like God showing up kind of stuff, but it was so profound and so powerful. And what I loved about today's meeting, and for those who hadn't had a chance to step into everyone's meeting, everybody was almost saying the same thing. Everybody was almost saying the same thing. And I'm sitting there like, wow, because there's some classes I couldn't get to because I was either doing something else but everyone that I've listened to is basically saying the same thing. And I was in the class with Jay Kyle, and I'm like, man, I wish I had it. I'm like, can we record that and put that on DVD so I can play it over again, because it was so profound. And then the intergenerations, and one of the things that, like, one of the classes I'm really excited about, and that is Josh's class, because again, he's a young man, and it just, I was just sitting here thinking about it. Wow, how you have people from their 50s, 40s down to a teenager or 12 preteen young man, and how it's covering everyone. So I hope that everyone that's watching this, that you'll be inspired to, and to let you know that if you look outside the box, there's people that will be there to assist you. Because God says in his word, he has people that I'm sure Moses did not expect, how am I going to build this tabernacle? God had to come and tell him, look, I got some people here for you. They're going to build everything that's in your heart. So I just want to encourage everyone with that.
And I really appreciate that. And again, I don't want this to come off like this is a braggadocious type of thing, but I like talking about developing the team, because I'm a piggyback off of what you just said. I know I was telling Kyle about this years ago, about wanting to do something like this. And this was going to be local in the city. And I had no idea. So outside of y'all who are watching in the chat, I've said it to the people on this conference, and I'll say it again. I am beyond thankful for God, for y'all being here, because I did not know none of y'all. The only people on this call that I know are Kyle and my brother-in-law. And if you want to take a Holy Ghost moment right now, if you can't give God praise and thanks for this happening, I don't know what else you can't say. Because I mean, I could not put this together. I did not put this together. And the idea is developing the team. The only thing I can say from developing the team, what I did is I got out the way. I did what God told me to do. It was like, AJ, leave music, teach media. I remember sitting with Kyle, telling him, I'm like, God told me to do this. I don't know. And I still remember, he said, AJ, I know you. You don't have a problem with what God told you. You just need assurance that you're hearing him right. And then when he said, pray for that, and then when I got the assurance, I had a whole lot of people that I thought were going to be my ride and die people that left. And I'm like, God, wait, you know what? God, you're not a deadbeat dad. I know I heard you right. So if all the people I thought were going to be there weren't, and I'm doing what you told me to do, you're going to provide. I ain't know where it was going to come from. And this is what you see. And me and Kyle and my brother-in-law were talking about it. I mean, we got graphic designers in here. We got software engineers. We got people who are lawyers. We got people in audio engineers that work with Ty Tribbett and all these other gospel artists. We got people in Paris, France. I've always wanted to go there. Never been across the Atlantic, never been across the Pacific. We got people in Nigeria. We got this. That was developing the team. How do you develop the team? Stay faithful and believe that God knows what he's doing, and get out the way. But when he gives you an assignment, do it. Like, again, I was doing YouTube videos saying like, okay, God, you want me to do this? Nobody's watching. I don't care. Keep doing it. But I'm tired. I don't care. Keep doing it. Okay, God. Okay, we got one person here. Okay, 3 weeks go by. We got 2. All right, you know what? I have to just stay faithful. And then that carried over to the fact that, you know what? God allowed me to test me to see, like, how serious are you, AJ? And then now, out of nowhere, here, let me plop here. And Josh said this the other day when we were in our last prayer before the conference. Josh joined a roundtable that we had every 2 weeks. And I was like, good Lord, this lady's voice is really high. And then I said, if you don't mind, how old are you? and he said 12. That messed me up. That beyond messed me up, because that showed that we had 85-year-olds that are passionate about serving, and we have 12-year-olds. And that's where we come from. This is an excuse remover. You know, developing your team, it's not, I mean, like J. Kyle, they have at their ministry, they have, what's the youngest? You got like 8-year-olds that are in the media booth? Is that the youngest that y'all got? So
Yeah. The youngest is, I think the youngest is 8, and they're doing things as basic as making sure that the batteries are fresh for the next microphones, the next service, and making sure that the iPads are plugged in.
exactly.
Start there.
Yeah, I mean, you know, everybody else is thinking, oh, we can't have these people here because they don't know what an Illudium Pill 36 explosive phase modulator is. They can't be involved with the media ministry. If y'all don't know what that is, that's Marvin the Martian. I don't know if y'all remember that, but you know, everybody else is thinking you can't be a part of the media ministry because you do not have a degree, and I'm calling them out. You don't have a degree from Liberty University in media ministry, and I'm just like, that don't mean nothing. Do you have a willing heart? And has God, you can't tell the measure of a person of what abilities God has given. We need to get out the way and allow people, be the example and be a good steward of whoever you got. If you got one person and that one person is you, be faithful. Then when that next person comes, treat them like you know that they're God's property and not yours. And then be faithful. Yes.
Yeah, I think I may have shared this with you before. We had a young man that served in our ministry, and he started about 7, 8 years old. You know, here lately, his mom ain't been consistently coming to church, so, you know, he didn't have transportation. But, you know, I never forget a time that I was training another person in my ministry I guess he was in his 50s. And I walked back upstairs, and him and his guys into it. He telling the 7-year-old, man, you doing this all wrong. You doing this all wrong. And he's like, no, I'm doing it right. And so when he asked me, I said, no, he's doing it right. And he said, I'll be doggone. I got trained by an 8-year-old.
Hey, I mean, and see, and that's, and I think that, and I think that goes into what Kyle was saying in his class, and almost everybody has said. God poured out his spirit on all flesh, not flesh at a certain age, not a flesh with a certain title, not a flesh with a certain shirt, not a flesh with a certain skin color, at a certain state of a certain denomination. And this might be foreign. This might be strange, not with the same persuasion as you, because their sin is more visible than yours. All right. I don't want everybody to get silent on me. It's like everybody has sinned and came short. So you lying is just as bad as somebody else's choice on their orientation. All right. Now, sin is sin. It's wrong. Just like you lying is wrong. But you can't say what God don't want to do. Hey, what was David? A man after God's own heart, but he's sleeping around and having people murdered because he did. Come on now. And we making a big deal about, hey, you can't run in the media booth because you got a little sugar in your tank, or you want to do something like that. I mean, really, folks, you know, how many, we can read through the Bible. I don't remember. It was only one person that was perfect in that entire Bible. Only one. And we making all these excuses to justify. And before we cut over, I'm gonna make an executive decision right now. I'm not gonna change the Zoom. We're just gonna let this roll on because the next 3 are discussions. You're just gonna let it roll. We'll change the subject, but we'll just keep it rolling. And I'll if anybody can do it faster than me, if y'all can just put a note on the Facebook to just say that other one has been nixed. We'll just stay on this one. Going into the next discussion. But I mean, because we got about 5 more minutes, and the next discussion, which I think bleeds into where this conversation was going anyway, is beyond service creativity. Because, you know, God can pour out, if you're 90, you can be creative. If you're 6, you can be creative. So just like tying into what Intergenerational Synergy Church Emergency that Jay Cowell is talking about in his book, and he's laid out, why are we thinking that only one generation has the you know, the lock and the handle on creativity or ministry or reaching new people? You know, why? You know, so I know we, well, let me ask this. Does anybody have any more thoughts on developing a team? Any different thoughts or anything like that?
I do have one question about developing a team. This is, you know, it's kind of selfish partially too, but it has to do with developing the team. I mean, it's kind of creative too. I'm taking a creative moment. You know, as I was looking on the 4Media Emmy conference website, I did see the store and I did see the swag that was for sale. And I did see the, you know, the sweatshirt, and I did see the long sleeve t-shirts. But I noticed that yourself, you got a nice short sleeve t-shirt on, and I saw some of the presenters today. They had a nice short sleeve t-shirt on that said "E-Missionary" on it. I haven't seen those anywhere, and I'm just wondering, is that going to come in the swag bag that you're sending out for those of us who signed up the conference? Are we going to get that coming in there? Is it going to come with the mini ATM and the swag? I mean, I know you got a lot of stuff.
Oh Lord!
I'm just trying to see if, you know, what's going to come in the swag bag, and at least going to get. Or I mean, I kind of wanted to buy t-shirts for my team. I didn't want to say it out loud because then somebody going to hold me to that. But if they were available, I would want to purchase them for my team to help develop them and show them, you know, show them some love and everybody identify them. So if I get a short sleeve shirt, I'm just saying.
Well, the short sleeves are there. Honestly, I started while the conference was going on. I was adding them to the site, and they've referenced back to my Teespring store that's on YouTube and everything. I was just making it an easier way to get to. But yeah, they are available. I need to put the link so that y'all can get to it. Plus, I'm gonna give y'all a sneak peek. I talked to Mr. Jay Cowell about this one. The design is not in yet, so I'm a paint the picture. On the front, it's two different designs. One of them on the front. Let me get my notepad so I can actually not mess it up.
I was also looking for that book too, the emergency thing. I figured that was going to be included. The book was going to be included in the swag bag as well. I'm figuring that, you know, the emergency book was going to be included in the swag bag because I know those.
Visual illustration while he's getting ready.
So I'm just assuming that the t-shirts and the book, the emergency book, going to be included in this swag bag, which I'm sure is in the mail. I'm guessing. I'm figuring.
Folks, I'm going to have to disavow. I'm going to have to tell you, I don't know him. Never met him before.
Okay, so that's gonna make it kind of hard for me to give you that t-shirt since I was gonna hook you up. You know, if I got the hookup.
Well, I let me put it out here. So I got my notes. I'm a paint the picture. Like I said, it's two designs for this one. On the front, it's gonna say the Great Commission. On the back, it's gonna say the Great Commission. On the front, it's gonna say the Great Commission is not staying inside, staying comfortable, traditional, exclusive, isolated, introverted. On the back, it'll say the Great Commission is about going outside, online, progressive, inclusive, modern, accessible, extroverted. Then the other one is just going to say the key word to the Great Commission is, and on the back, it's just going to say go, but go is going to be consistent of going outside your four walls. And so it's going to be in the shape of go, but multiple words tied into that. So that's the one that is in the works as well too. So, I mean, because again, it's like, you know, this ain't about me like, man, I'm about ready to lace my pockets with that extra $25 I make for them 18 shirts that sold. You know, it ain't about that. I just want it to be, I've had so many people. I think when I went on vacation, I can tell you now I was in Fort Lauderdale. I had this shirt and somebody stopped me to wait. The waiter was like, he was from Jamaica. He was like, "What's that?" And I explained it. And he was like, and then I sat down and he's my waiter and we're sitting down talking about God. And he was like, oh, I'm a Christian out of here. And it's kind of interesting to see anybody wearing a shirt about Christianity and about this and this. So, I mean, hey, I wanted to know that this don't say missionary Methodist, Church of God in Christ, Baptist, Lutheran. We are missionaries. That's what it is. It's about sharing God's word with people that we may never meet. That's all it's about. So anyway, I think that was enough of a transition. It's 5:01. So the question now is, for everybody who's still in the chat and everything like that, is how do you be creative beyond the traditional service? Because that's what's needed. When online, what's the currency on live streaming and being online and being out where? The currency is attention. That's what it is. Like YouTubers, that's why they're called influencers, because they're helping to influence. That's what we're doing. As a media ministries, we're trying to help influence people to see our ministry, to engage with the content of our ministry. And to be quite honest, just having a lecture, somebody on the pulpit preaching, that is kindergarten. We have grown past that. It's about being creative. This is creative. This is not just, I mean, this is just the beginning, but what ideas have y'all done or y'all working to implement to do? I mean, we've had a bunch of people talk about it. My brother-in-law was talking about using Zoom for game night, movie nights, having small groups. I mean, what are some other ideas that y'all think or have y'all implemented in being creative beyond a typical Saturday, Sunday, Wednesday, whatever day service do you decide to do outside of that?
On Sunday afternoons, we have a group Zoom discussion on what the pastor talks about. And so oftentimes I will take little clips of that and then I'll just release it onto our channel. So it's got more to kind of enforce what the message had as well. So that's something that's
awesome. Anybody else? What are some other ideas that y'all have done or are looking to do for creativity beyond the typical service?
So one thing that I'm looking to start doing is instead of dealing with just, Sunday morning preaching, Wednesday midweek service, roundtable discussions with people that just ordinary people in the church, maybe led by the pastor, maybe led by one of the other ministers, and may not even be physically at the church. We got beautiful scenic location. We got beautiful scenic locations in the part of Louisiana where I am, along the levees and different stuff like that. I could bring a wireless mic kit, 1 or 2 cameras, and we could make a real nice event out of it, where people will really get to see, hey, this is what we're talking about. We're not in the church. We're not confined to the church, and we're having a real open discussion, much like what we do here, and we just let it flow.
Awesome. And sorry about that. My lights just flicked for half a second. I was just like, oh, we don't have a tango down here. Yeah, I mean, I think that's, and again, I'm not trying to pick on Jay Kyle about this, but he has more in depth when he's talking about the generations and give a branch to bring in that. Educate me and educate everybody else, Kyle, on this one and address this from a generational standpoint. There are certain generations that you just talking around about stuff, they just don't tolerate that no more. And let me put some meat on that bone. What that is when you're sitting in a typical service and your sermon is you need to have faith. Everybody knows that. But there are certain generations that are like, I don't need to hear that. I need to know how. Give me a how. Just don't talk around it. Tell me how. hey, I want to save this marriage. I want to learn how to properly tithe. Just don't tell me tithe. Tell me how. If I can pull up my tablet and I can look up anything and Google anything, why do I have to go on a scavenger hunt to try and find out how to get my soul right in these subjects?
I think a lot of times with ministry today, to your point, the how-to ministry mode is going to be key right now. We're going to want to know, tell me the steps. I start here, do this, do that, do the third. And honestly, for a lot of our leaders and a lot of our preachers, we may not have come from that particular approach. So it may lend to you as a media minister, finding a way to encapsulate that, to put that stuff into steps. We found it interesting from retweeting points in the sermon to keep people engaged, or if you can collaborate with your pastor or whoever is going to be speaking prior to Sunday morning. I know a lot of us, have different levels of that, so that there is some application. There's some take home points. But then on the outside of that, I would say that in terms of, sometimes people get so concerned about, are we still going to be within what the church should represent? The way that you address it, if you're going to remain connected to the culture, you keep one hand on the old landmark of the faith. And I say that, I don't mean your old traditions. I mean the landmark of the faith. Keep your hand on the landmark of the faith, and whatever you do, don't let that hand go. And then whatever you need to do culturally or approach-wise to remain relevant, use your other hand to connect. But keep both hands. One hand got to be on the faith. One hand is on your cultural expression, your the latest application of what you're going to do, be it TikTok or IG or YouTube or Facebook. All that was demonic 6 years ago, before people had to start streaming their services. It's like, oh, now it's God sent. So you keep your hand on the faith, and you can stretch your other hand as far as you need to get to any other generation. Just make sure you don't let go of the hand of the faith. Here's the key. If you can keep your one hand on the faith and one hand on whatever application, whatever approach you use, as long as you've got one hand connected to the faith, then you become the bridge between the faith and whatever it is we need to do to remain relevant culturally. If you have to let go of the hand on the faith to reach the next generation, sad to say, they're out of reach. And they'll catch you, but they won't catch the faith. So keep your hand on the faith, and then whatever you got to do, if this is midnight basketball, if this is streaming youth commercials. I know of a church that does Saturday morning Sunday school online, and they broadcast it all over the nation, and they have like 2,000 kids jump on, and kids teach it. So they go in and they go in Canva and make up their little slides, and it's their flavor, and they broadcast it. Well, hey, that's church on a Saturday. Hey, that's cartoons. Hey, that's this. Hey, that's that. Hey, that's still the faith. So you got it. You done call them now, and you keep that as long as you can keep as a media minister or as a minister in general, your one hand on the faith. Don't let go of the faith, but whatever else you can do, be it music, be it lighting, be it whatever, or be it simple applications. It doesn't always have to be shiny and bright and with a lot of glitter to attract. Be creative, as long as the faith is not compromised. That's where you have to go now. If you have to let go of the faith, then you missed the whole point, because they got you, but they don't have the faith.
See, now the thing that made made me just think about when you were talking about that, the analogy of you're holding on to the faith, but if you can't reach the generation unless you let go, that's not a right decision. And I agree. The only thing that jumped in my mind when you said that is how far can you reach now with tech that you don't have to? It's the thing is, let the tech that has no issue with distance. Meaning, like, what do you mean, AJ? Like, hey, I don't want to let go of this faith here. I'm holding it right here. I'm sorry, I'm leaning back because I need to put my feet up. But you're holding right here onto the tech, onto the faith.
Yeah.
But hey, I can't reach Johnny and these mugs who are around the corner here. But guess what? I can throw a TikTok video up of 10 seconds of this ministry and it's in their feed.
Yep.
And that will bring them closer to where now you can can I digitally touch you until I can so I can digitally trust you to where I can so you can physically build trust in me, and now I can reach out.
Exactly. And
compared to like, I'm not touching you at all. Right.
Because at one point or another, and this is what we learned when we went to e-church mode, we've got members who probably, unless they really want to just get on a plane or take a trip, probably will never make it into our sanctuary. We're in Richmond, Virginia. We've got folks in Texas. We've got folks in California. We've got folks in Florida. We've got folks in North Carolina. We've got folks in Canada. And so we had to have some Canada on there too. So hey, I didn't let go of the faith. Like you said, AJ, we just pushed the button and sent it. We made it go. We made it go. And that's the thing. As long as you can make it go. Now here's the deal with the cultural relevance. That's what your generations are for. So they can help me decode this thing. They can help me. They can help me because I'm 40. Okay, so I've got a few under me. I got a few more over me. I sit with them and I ask, hey, what's going on in the culture today? What's good? Who's going? Who are your voices? I have these conversations with them. Who are the voices of influence in your generation? Who's hot in your music right now? What's the prevalent message? What do I need to know? And because I've built relationship, they'll tell me, hey, you'd be surprised. It's nothing like you were when you were in high school, Elder Kyle. It's this and it's that and it's the third. And I'm like, wow. And so how do we minister? Well, how does that connect? I had a whole focus group with my 18 to 25-year-olds who used to be my youth a few years ago. And then we had a whole pandemic and they all came back driving cars. I'm confused as to what happened. But we sat there and hey, tell me what's going on. And you know, the plan is to continue to have those meetings because I got to have my ear to the street. But in the same category, in the same conversation, I'm also going to Hardee's and having coffee and sausage biscuits with older saints because I need to hear their stories too. It's not just about having a youth church. It's not just having about a youth ministry. If it's 8 generations, then in my mind, I've got some golden age people who are eclipsing 75 and 78. And if you're still here, you are our responsibility to minister to you. So now what's relevant for them? I've got some recent widows. What's relevant for them? I've got some folks who are struggling with divorce care. What's relevant for them? Keep the faith, but you got to reach to where they are. And I would say this, and then I'll leave it alone because I got to get ready to run. But if the vision, and this is actually on the back cover of my book, if the vision for your ministry does not include the generations, your vision and your ministry have an expiration date. I'll say it one more time. If the vision for your ministry does not include the generations, your vision and your ministry have an expiration date. No one on here wants their ministry and their vision to have an expiration date. You better find a way to include all the generations. Otherwise, something's going to expire.
Well, I appreciate that, Kyle. You said it so eloquently and so much nicer than I say it. I've been known to sit in a church meeting and be like, hey, you got any more business? Yes, AJ. I'm the youngest person in this room. We 2 generations from being dead. I don't know. I just don't like red tape. Just kind of just jump to the point. But no, I completely agree. And I think the issue, and I mean, it's almost like all of this stuff is bleeding together. I mean, that's the whole point of it anyway, is like going back to creativity, which was the thought I never got the chance to mention, but goes into this, is how do you do that? You do it by the generations working with other generations, and the other generations not trying to micromanage the other generations. So you talked about it like, oh, you want to have a youth ministry or a youth Bible study where the youth are teaching. Last thing you need is a generation coming in and saying, no, you should do it this way. Because now it's not their own. It's idea. Give them the freedom to be creative, but steer them. Like, hey, you might not want to go down that way because there's a pothole. Yep. But no, you should do it like this. You need to have the ephod on. You need to have this. You need to have this color. You can't do that, man. You need to bow down 3 times and then kneel on your left knee because the right knee is not holy. Just like, all right, relax a little bit. Because in all reality, if people in biblical times saw how we did church right now, we probably get burned at the stake because we ain't nowhere close to how it was in the Bible too. Just like this whole e-missionary thing, I hope everybody know it's somebody told me a long time ago, you ever heard people say, I don't understand why the people in the Bible time had such a hard time believing God and believing Jesus. Look at all the miracles, he said. If you look everywhere in the Bible, every time there's a miracle happen, what's said right after that? Fear not. Right after it. So if they were fearing that now, that's the same issue that's happening now. So how I say that, all these miracles are happening right around, and change is happening. We are in change right now. This is the moment, but it's still people fighting it because they need to be told, fear not. Yeah, I understand this is scary to you. I understand we're going to where, like Kyle said it, I love how he said this. 2019, the success of your ministry was defined as how many butts are in seats.
Yeah.
2020, your sign of disobedience in your ministry is the sign of how many people's butts are in seats.
That fast. It says you're behind the times and you're no longer relevant.
Yeah, and we talked about that. It's like God's word has not become irrelevant, but your ministry may have.
Yeah. Let me take a spin on this, okay?
Yeah.
Because you said something about generations. Now, here's the way that I look at it, and I said it this morning. And so someone caught what I said, and I'm like, if we're going to remain relevant beyond the service of creativity, it's how do we engage the boomers, Generation X, Generation Y, Generation Z, the millennials? How do we engage all of that? Because what's happening now is in 2019, you just had one type of people coming to church and one group of people just butts and seats. That's just what it was. Now in 2021, leading into 2022 and 2023 and beyond, we have to deal with 2 types of people now. We have the people that are in the seats, and then we have the people that are actually on the streets.
Mm-hmm.
And one is going to not like the other. Unfortunately, they're going to be like Cain and Abel and fight each other. So it's how do you make sure that your creativity beyond the service is reaching both of them as much as possible, right? So you have I forgot the word that I wanted to use was you kind of have the people that will come sometimes, and you have the people that will always stay and always be in that mode. How do we make sure that one doesn't hate the other, especially now that we're dealing with a hybrid situation? Because that's where we're going to find the disconnect. And ministry now has evolved to where we have to recognize that some is not going to like the fact that I come once a month and, hey, you know what? 2 months later, church has to re-engage and have a baptism on 2 months later because I only come once a month. And then for the person that's always there, it's like, hey, you know, if I wanted to, you know, take that next step, I can take it right there. So how do we get to that creativity in ministry? I mean, as much as we're doing the worship nights and all that other stuff and playing on patios, renting restaurants, all that type of stuff, how do we still remain relevant without hating each other?
May I?
Yeah,
go ahead.
absolutely.
One thing that we did, and we were very intentional about this, and that was we had to change the language from the pulpit. Again, going back to 2019, there were, and I don't know, let's just talk about my church. I won't fool with y'all churches. Let's just talk about mine. There was this thing where there was a higher premium on your in-person members versus those who are streaming, because you could get in the car and drive here, you know. Well, we tried to kill that for a long time, but because our church was born in 1985, you know, you got to gather in the house. Glenn, he's not on here today, Glenn Thomas, he said, if the Bible says you got to be in one place, or forsake not this fellowship of assembling together. So he said, well, then if everybody locks onto this IP address, and the address is a place, so now we're back together again. So what we had to do was change the language, change the verbiage. Now, when we launch our service in the morning, listen, we're so happy to see everyone here. Our address is 3405. So 3405, live from 3405, and to all of our streaming family, we appreciate you connecting with us. And the idea is this: there's some folks here that are sitting in the city who are literally 10 minutes away from the church who are not coming, but they will be the first one on the stream. They will be the first ones to type amen. They'll be the first ones to give. And it is up to them as to whether or not they're going to join in our services from a physical perspective. And here's how you gauge it, because we had one guy, one of our senior leaders. He's having health challenges. God rest his soul. He went on to glory a few weeks ago, but when he could no longer make it to service, he was the first one on the stream every single time. And he was my ears outside to say, hey, Elder Kyle, I can't hear the microphone on such and such. And he would be texting me in the middle of the service, and I was sliding over to the iPad trying to make sure that the stream is right. Or he'd text us and say such and such and such. Never darked the door maybe 10 times in the last 2 years. And for the last 20 years, he had been a faithful member every time. How do you change the premium on a brother like that who now can't make it and say, oh, well, he can't make it because of health challenges? Well, but this person just doesn't want to make it because they're just being lazy. You got to stop, because you won't be able to sort through all of that. So you have to embrace everybody. Now, I say it this way: the greatest detriment to your effective outreach is ineffective inreach. So if there's something happening in the house that provides that schism, they're going to feel it on the outside. And you don't have to say it. It's sense. You can sense when there is a difference between those who stream and those who are there on a daily basis. We need workers in the house. We don't want everybody to leave, but here it is. We've got some folks who live right in the city who stream, some folks who live in the country and stream. And so who's going to sort through all of that and make those adjustments and say, well, you should be here, but you shouldn't be here? TD Jakes doesn't do that. Joel Osteen doesn't do that. So some of this, you just need to do ministry. And if you've ever tuned into a Jakes service or a Potter's House service rather, or Joel Osteen, you know, whoever you like, whether you are in the house or on the stream, you feel the experience. That's how you know. I love listening to Bishop T.D. Jakes. I catch him almost every Monday. I have never met him. I've never been to Texas. But when I stay in their stream, I feel like I'm a part of what's going on.
Yeah.
That's how you know. Everybody's got that favorite that we really, if you stop, you never met that person, you never drove to that city. So what are they doing to make you feel like you're a part? Do that thing for the people that are connecting to your ministry, and you're gonna see the difference.
Yeah, you touched on it too, because I said it this morning, and I'm like, it's all about creating the culture. The experience online, if you create a nice experience online, even if they'll never come to your thing, they'll never come, but they'll connect with you and they'll take a next step. They'll join a cell group. They'll join Bible, the weekly Bible study. They'll join a panel discussion.
Yep.
You could have somebody that's been a faithful goer for 30 years, sitting in the chair, coming, but the VIP guest that's watching online could be just as faithful as the same person, but yet we don't equate it to that because, hey, if I don't see you, I need 50 people in the room to and trust me. I've been there. Like I've been there, and I've worked with pastors, and I understand that it's hard to be creative, especially as you get older. It's hard. And what we're finding out and what we're realizing is that the disconnect, it's older people stay with the older folks. Younger people stay with the younger folks. But then there's no intersection between both of them. And if we're going to maximize ministry to the next level for the next 5 years, because church is 2 years behind of everything that goes on in the world anyways, right? Statistically. Right. So if we're going to maximize, we have to find a way to find a balance. Find a balance, but not only that, think, okay, what does the younger generation use? Okay, you may be the person that may not be in skinny jeans and all that, may not want to show that on live stream, may want to come in a suit and all that. That's all well and good. But is the message relevant? Does it talk about the issues and the things that are going on? Even though we're not supposed to be of this world, we still live in it. We still occupy an address in this place. Are we still finding some way to be creative to reach those that are necessary? That's a challenge I think everyone faces.
All right, real quick, not to interrupt the conversation, I want to address a question that was brought out in the chat. So extra folks who haven't said nothing, we want to call out for y'all to give y'all thoughts on this question. Sean wants to know, for those of us with ministries that have all decisions made through their church conference / business meeting, how do you integrate members who have joined from other areas outside of the local area? Now, my first thought is let me see who's on here, because I don't want to throw nobody under the bus, but whatever. Hey, this is meant to help. So if you take it personally, it's not meant to hurt. It's meant to help. I requested at my church for the bylaws to be updated to include church meetings, to include Zoom, so that we don't discriminate if you're not physically here, meaning that, oh, you won't get to vote until you physically here. Look, we can get rid of that. And I asked for that to be done. So I think that is, because honestly, I don't care your age at this point. It's almost everybody on the face of the planet has done Zoom. When my daughter graduated first grade, they had to have a Zoom graduation. So grandparents had to watch. This as soon, like, perfect example. My mom her birthday is tomorrow. She's going to be 84 tomorrow. She, for a long time, was like, I ain't never getting no online banking account. How do you see a cow? That's how they get you. That's how they get you. That's how they steal your stuff. I ain't using no debit card. I ain't doing it. That's how they hack your account. And I said, Ma, you do realize you're going to have to get one. I'm not getting nothing. I'm not getting nothing. 3 months go by. Hey, Ma, what's that in your debit card? I thought you weren't going to get one. The bank made us. They gave it to everybody. I used to go inside the bank. Now they charge me to go inside the bank. In other words, I say all that to say, you can fight progress all day long, but when it comes, You have to accept it. And that's this is one of those movements that we're talking about. Now, hear me straight. I'm not saying that every single ministry has to live stream. I've said that before in the book. If you don't want to live stream, I really don't care, to be quite honest. What I really care about is to stop saying that God is against live streaming. That's what I'm against. Because every good and perfect gift came from God. If live streaming didn't have a good purpose, he wouldn't have allowed it to be here in the first place. So if you want to, and again, take this honestly, I know this sounds opposite of what this whole conference is about. If you don't want to live stream and your focus is that you really got a heartbeat to the neighborhood and you're going to the streets and stuff like that, guess what? That benefits the ministry. That's what it's all about. If you don't want to do live streaming, that's fine. Stop demonizing the ones that are. And this goes back to what you're saying, Jamie, and what Kyle was saying, I think he had to drop off, is how do you bridge that gap? Stop demonizing the people that don't do it the way that you want it to do or the way it used to be. Hey, instead of talking about, oh, you ain't saved because you ain't coming into the house of the Lord and stuff like this, it's like, dude, does it really matter? And this was not Brother Leroy who was on here, but Brother Lee brought this to our attention. There's some people that ain't never coming to your church, not because they're lazy, but because they are convicted felons and they're illegal for them to come to the church. So are you saying because they made a mistake in their past life, they just got to suffer and burn in hell and have no relationship with God because you're not going to share it with them? Unless I'm not going to share God's word with you unless you come in my building. So yeah, to you. You know,
that's a problem because I can't remember the book, but my dad did a Bible study on it about your being a welcoming church. And just like you said, like if you are saying all these negative things about something, what makes me want to join your church? What makes me want to visit? Well, I think I'm wrong. Who wants to visit your church because you're so negative about what's going on in today's world? You know, like you say with the Zoom, like it's gonna happen. Like people are not coming out their houses. If they working, they ain't got to worry about trying to rush to eat, take a shower or whatever, and then go back to church after they worked all day. They can just stay at home, warm themselves up a hungry man meal like me, and just be in the meat, you know, and call it a day. So again, you know, it's like a lot of these things that people are being so negative about, just like trustees. Trustees don't want to spend no money because they feel like it's their money, when it's not. It's a collective of everybody contributing their giving from God to the church. And, you know, and then to say those things, I don't want to come back because then y'all not progressing because y'all so negative about so many other things that's going on. You know, I wouldn't want to come. And I think that's an issue too, because that's a major issue when it comes to being a welcoming church. That's very important to implement, you know.
Yeah, I agree. Anybody else? You got any thoughts on that? Like, I mean, how do y'all, let me make it personal so that way give everybody an out. How do y'all feel about ministries, not including yours? How do y'all feel when people do that, to where it's like you're ostracized because you don't conform to the unwritten rule of how church is supposed to be? I mean, what's your thoughts about that, Don?
Yeah, really, the church I go to, we're going through this right now. We're kind of a church in crisis, all about this, how older congregation. I mean, I'm probably the oldest one. I'm 71, and it's amazing how people want to change. They want everybody to come to church, yet they want to do it all the same way, the old way. And the trouble is, you're not changing with the times. Where we used to be a church, we would change. We were one of the leaders in the city, in the area. And now we just kind of fallen back. Well, we got to do it the same way. No one will be here because no one likes that. And it's not true. And I think it is hard. I mean, I know the book he was talking about, The Welcome Church. We had that here. That was a focus we had for a couple of years from a pastor. And you know what? People agreed they wanted to do it, but some of the stuff, when they read it, they went, well, we can't do that. And yet it was proven that's what worked, and it still does. It's hard. And I mean, this is one thing when they were talking about, in-house members here in the Midwest. Like I said, I'm from Fremont, Nebraska, and we've been able to have live church now since last January, because our COVID, you guys on the East Coast and West Coast, you've been hit harder, and we, weren't that, it was bad, but, we still had it. And there were several months where we didn't have it, come in and said a group of 10, 12 people that went in and we produced live church that way. And now we have people coming back, but it's the same group, and we have as many people watching online as we do in church. In fact, it's pretty much the same member, level, which is twice as many people as we used to have. So, but so many people that used to come will go, oh, I don't know, I just rather sit at home. And one person goes, I like sitting in my pajamas all day and not going to church. And I go, well, come to church that way. Who cares? I mean, so that's what Zoom has done for us, and other, teamworks and stuff, where they laugh at people about they're sitting in the shirt and nothing else, and it does happen, but it's just, we've got to change. And that's why I'm looking forward to someone that's to my right there, a young man named Josh. I want to hear his class, because I used two of my I call grandsons, were my videographers for my video I did. And the one, Zach, was his age, younger than he was, and he started when I became ill, and he took over for me upstairs running the projection on Sundays, one of the people that did. And now, when they did the video, they're the ones creating some of the views and stuff and some of the ways it was done. And it was fun. I let them go because I needed, as Mike knows, I was really, didn't know what I was doing. But I've learned now I want to make some more. I can videotape, and I thank AJ for, kind of inspiring us. And, like when I was in that meeting and something in my head said, go ahead, a voice said, go do that. You can do it. And I believed him and stuff. So, but yeah, that's what I'm hoping to get out of this, is how we get, we can get, some young people back, but, it's the desire to say, gotta have kids. Well, yeah, we do, but, we're an older church dying, we call ourselves a dying list. There we are. We've had, our pastor has 8 interments this next 2 weeks. Waited after COVID, and while she was on medical leave to do gravesides. And we had a funeral Thursday. And so, but we don't have anything coming in, new people coming in to make up and do that. So it is a problem, but I think it's solvable if we want to. And that's the desire. I know this, stay the same, you're not going to win. It's not going to work, because you got to change. Because you're right, AJ. When last year hit, God sent a message to all of us saying things need to be changed. There was I don't remember who it was, rather sure, somebody kept saying it's the greatest change in communications in 500 years for the church. We've done the same thing 500 years in, which is true, and now something says we have to change drastically. And it'll be interesting. We're still all changing. And today was a good sign where you watch how many people were there, watching, and you joined. And next year will be bigger.
Yep. And that was Brady Shear who does that, talking at Pro Church Tools.
Yeah. Yes. But I just took that. I said that several times, and people go, "Why do you say that?" Because I said it's true. Look around you. I mean, we may have been doing radio broadcasts for over 50 years, but it's always been the same time, every single Sunday for 50 years. So it's now we live stream and do other things and Zoom meetings, and so like this, and it's it's the way to go. So I'm done. Thank you. I didn't mean to start preaching.
No, you're fine. You're fine. I mean, this is what it's all about, is to show different perspectives of it. And you said something that it's like, I'm not trying to be the cliche person, but it's like, I remember, again, being a preacher's kid, I couldn't live off my parents' salvation. It got a part in my life where I had to develop a relationship for myself. And how I addressed that, that's when I was going through a divorce. And well, I'm not gonna say that part. I was going through a divorce and I literally was mad. I'm like, God, I lived my life right. I didn't do anything before marriage. I did this right, and this fell apart. I was angry. And I left everything from church. And because I was talked around stuff, how to have a relationship with God. It wasn't talked about, it was talked around it. So I knew enough that when I came to myself, that I decided to sit back and read the Bible from beginning to end without any preconceived notions. And then that's when I learned about a relationship. That's when I developed a relationship. I didn't go off of what they said in Sunday school. I read it and God spoke to me myself, and I got an understanding of that. And I say all that to say, the cliches that whole monologue came from is, I can't stand when people talk about this is how we used to do it. Everything changes. The only thing that does not change is God.
Right.
Everything else changes. So, and I say it jokingly, but nowhere in the Bible did it say Jesus told the disciples to take the boat with him because that's the only way he could preach. When he spit and when he healed somebody, sometimes he spit straight into their eyes. Sometimes he spit in the dirt, made clay. Other times they just believed. He did everything completely different every single time. He was an agent of change. But we're trying to make everything stay exactly the same. And there's nowhere in the Bible that's biblical about that, except for the fact that God does not change.
I want to bring one thing up. Something happened a few weeks ago with a gentleman that was a pastor that was subbing for Communion Sundays. He had a sermon on the hostile takeover of Jesus Christ. And he put it in the terms of companies doing hostile takeovers and stuff. And he brought out, he says, when you look at when he was throwing money away in the temple and tearing down tables and, doing things deliberately to upset the scribes and Pharisees, he was doing a hostile takeover, and it was one of the most riveting sermons I've ever heard in my life. And but a lot of people in church walked out going, "Why was he talking about that?" And they didn't comprehend it. But it was something that was like, that's what it was. And so it's like, yeah, when you're cliche, and I'm the same way. When someone says, "Well, you got to do it the same way," I go, keep going. Why? What's the purpose? Is it working? Not really, but it's just, can you get the change made?
Yeah. I mean, it's the good thing about this. I'm again so thankful about so many people coming together and share, but the other side of this, not the negative, but the reality check is we all got a lot of work to do. This is not a one conference thing. This isn't a one day thing. This isn't a one book thing. This is not a one piece of technology thing. We're agents of change to help move the ministry forward to where, we need to be flexible enough, and as scary as it is, to be like, hey, if live streaming goes away and they go to Facebook virtual reality, are we willing to make that pivot? If that's the new way, another tool to where we can minister. If it goes to where like, hey, we got a Neuralink and we beam the gospel into each other's heads and we just sit down in the chair. As scary as that sounds, if every good and perfect gift comes from God, there is a good method that could be used. I know it's scary. That's even scary for me to think about if it even went in that direction. But, are we willing to trust God that he allowed certain things to be in place? And can we, in wisdom, see the biblical purpose behind it, which is getting the message to the world? That's what it's about. I mean, you can get outside and use smoke signals to still send the Bible up. I mean, you can, but how many people can read them? You know, it's like it's an effective tool, but how many people read that? Is that, you know, like, hey, it's good to know Morse code. Like, I really want to know it, learn it myself. But I mean, how many people use it? So, but if y'all don't have any other thoughts, I know I've been sitting here at this computer. I need to stretch my legs here for a little bit. We're gonna take a little break, and I need to let Anthony know. I think we might hold off on the live streaming gear. Let's just give it an hour. Give it an hour to break. Next one up after that is Josh with his class, and then we have another rinse and repeat of a round table, and we're closing it out for the first day of this For Me virtual e-missionary conference. Thank y'all for the people who are on the chat. Yeah, Josh, you had something?
So if you said it's an hour break, so his class will start 7 and mine at 8.
No. I was saying next, it was supposed to be me and Anthony talking about live streaming gear. I'm a hold off for that one. Just have a break, and you're still slated for 7 p.m. Eastern.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're just gonna take a little break. I need to stretch my legs and see if I got any mail downstairs, and then just kind of walk this off. I should have stretched before this, but this was a lot. Thank y'all so much for the participation, for being a part of this. Thank y'all for being in the chat, and we will be back. You know, let's give some love and support to Josh, because hey, everybody's excited about hearing what he's going to be talking about, and then we're going to roll from right that into that. For everybody who is on here who wants to be a part of the roundtable, we are using the traditional Zoom link for that roundtable. These were just one-offs, but all of our roundtables today and the next conference on the 31st is going to be the same traditional bi-weekly Zoom link that's in the Facebook group. So we'll see y'all in an hour at Josh's class.
Yeah, go Josh.
Yep.
It's the man right there.
All right, everybody.
Peace.
Yep.
Bye, everybody.